30th of April, 1945. General Helmuth Weidling stands poised at the entrance of the Fuhrerbunker, his mission critical. In his hand is a message that can save thousands of lives. Before delivering the message to Hitler, he must navigate 3 rigorous security checkpoints that even top officials struggle to pass. Around him, Berlin is collapsing. Failure is not an option. Walking down the corridor, he sees the first guard checkpoint. He hands the soldier sitting at the desk his identification and says, "I'm General Helmuth Weidling. I urge you and lead me to Caesar Fuhrer." Weidling gets a nod of approval. The soldier gives a 2-tap code and the hermetic seal is broken. Weidling walks in. The easiest checkpoint is passed, but as he moves closer to Hitler, the security only grows stricter. General Weidling steps into the initial section known as the Fuhrerbunker, a fortress of secrecy. Before he can deliver the message, he'll have to pass by 2 more checkpoints. Beneath his feet lies a concrete floor, 8.5 feet thick, built to withstand immense pressure. Above him, the ceiling is 9 feet thick. Even though they might be protected from bombs, it's the thought of capture that creates intense fear and anxiety inside. The American and British forces are advancing rapidly through Western Germany, capturing critical major cities, Munich, Nuremberg, and Hamburg. The Nazis' position is becoming weaker by the day. The first section of the Fuhrerbunker holds a huge air purification system running constantly, giving the underground city its breathing power and preventing gas attacks. The dining hall stretches along the corridor, adjacent to the kitchen, where meals are crafted for all, including Hitler's vegetarian preferences. The dining area lies along the corridor, right next to the kitchen, where meals are prepared for everyone, including Hitler's vegetarian dishes. Next lies the storage pantry, a vital reserve of food supplies now dwindling rapidly. With the city surrounded, Weidling knows the bunker's rations will soon be depleted. Down the hallway, he focuses on the next security checkpoint, the entrance to the Fuhrerbunker, where Hitler and his most important Nazis live. Here is Magda Gerbau's bedroom and lounge where she and her 6 children live. This is Joseph Goebbels' family, the propaganda chief and one of Hitler's most trusted men. Known to be one of the most violent anti-Semitic members of the party, neighboring the Goebbels is the guard and guest quarters. This area houses Hitler's personal staff, including his 3 secretaries, military aides, bodyguards, and occasional visitors. Weidling is currently the head of the Berlin defense area, the last thing stopping the Soviets from completely taking over the city. Despite his critical role, he faces uncertainty about passing the second checkpoint into the Führer's inner sanctum. "I need to speak, Susya," says Weidling. "What's your business?" replies the guard. Weidling looks at him sternly and says, "That's not for you to know." The guard inspects his identification and picks up the phone. The Fuhrerbunker is protected by a nearly 12 to thick steel-reinforced concrete ceiling. On top of that is a few feet of compacted earth. Alongside this, to give the High Command more protection, the floor is 6.5 feet thick, and each room is protected by walls over 1 meter wide. This guard post is his only way in or out. "Your weapons, please," the soldier at the door demands firmly. Weidling hands the soldier at the door his pistol. "Proceed," the guard at the desk instructs, waving him forward. Weidling walks down the stairs. As he approaches the next door, Gelimber Bergdorf comes out and asks Weidling what he needs that's so urgent. Weidling responds, "I need to speak to the Führer immediately. The Führer cannot speak to you right now. I will relay the message." This message is for me to give to the Fuhrer. The city is in chaos. Let me through." Bergdorf looks at him suspiciously. The soldiers grip their guns tighter. By this late stage of the war, trust had all but evaporated among the ranks. Treachery was on the rise, and confidential information was being leaked to enemies daily, something they could have avoided if they had incogni. In the US alone, identity theft strikes every 22 seconds, with victims losing an average of $500 to the crime. Identity thieves can open credit card accounts and take out loans in your name, with you having to face all the consequences. Every day, your personal information is being bought and sold by data brokers. Not just your name, but your home address, browsing history. The amount of information they have on you is shocking. Fortunately, there is a solution. Incogin reaches out to data brokers who are selling your personal data and starts demanding that your information is taken off. If any of these third parties object, then Incogn repeatedly pushes them until all of your information is erased. First, create your account. Grant access to work on your behalf. Then sit back and watch from your dashboard as Incogn fights to remove your personal data from the internet. Take your personal data back with Incogn. Use code ATRIUM at the link below and get 60% off an annual plan. Weidling's letter holds the potential to save countless lives, but he faces resistance at this final checkpoint. Weidling's letter could save thousands of lives, but he won't be let through this final checkpoint unless he can convince them of his urgency. A massive airplane shell strikes nearby, shaking the bunker and sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Weidling, I must deliver this message. Bergdorf quickly grabs Weidling's arm and pulls him through the last security checkpoint. As Weidling enters a Fuhrerbunker, the tensions grow stronger. Even though he has managed to pass all 3 checkpoints, Hitler has executed officers for less extreme messages. Despite housing the most important Nazis, what you find inside the Fuhrerbunker is far from what you might imagine. Meters of damp air and mold permeate the space, standing between General Weidling and his meeting with Hitler. The whole bunker was built underneath the water table, so generators in the room to his left work overtime to keep the lights on. To the right lies the typist's room, where young women sit at their desks, their work now stalled. Young women sit at their desks. Not even a week ago, they were transcribing orders and working diligently. But now they sit idly. The men pierce their gaze up and see into the furthest room. A man begins walking towards them. Initially, this room was one of the staff bedrooms, but it's been taken over by the man approaching. Inside, there's a small single bed, desk and closet. This man is Martin Bormann, Hitler's most trusted secretary. Bormann knows that Weidling and Bergdorf standing together is not good news. Huddled and speaking in low tones, Weidling explains the situation. Bergdorf agrees to get Goebbels and Bormann agrees to fetch Hitler. Then they will all meet in the map room where Weidling will break the news. On the walls of this corridor hang paintings espousing the Nazi ideology that is crumbling outside. This large corridor serves 2 purposes. The top command rooms are connected to this space, which is where they gather and discuss strategy. It also serves as the waiting area for the more intimate conference area, the map, music room. Almost everyone, including Helmuth Weidling, had witnessed Hitler full of rage, madness, and pity curse out high command. Bergdorf knocks on the door to the right of the conference room. After a moment he hears, "Come here, guys." He enters. This part of the Fuhrerbunker serves several roles. The room is both Goebbels' and the bunker's doctor's office. Inside, there's a small medical bed and cabinets with medicines and tools. There's also a desk where Goebbels works. The farthest back is Dr. Ludwig Stumpfhager's bedroom. He is Hitler's personal physician and surgeon. Inside, there is a small cramped bed and nightstand with a lamp. Next to it is Goebbels' personal bedroom. He switches between sleeping here and his family's room above in the Fuhrerbunker. Bergdorf gets Goebbels' attention and tells him there is an emergency and that he needs to join them in the map room immediately. Opposite to Goebbels' office across the corridor is Hitler's section of the bunker. The first room is Hitler's office. Inside, Bormann sees modest items and a small desk with a black phone. He walks into the next room. This is Hitler's lounge. It has a wide couch placed against the back wall. In the corner is an oxygen tank. He always kept one nearby because he feared suffocating. In front is a small coffee table with papers and a thick red rug underneath. On the opposite wall is a small desk with some books and a large painting of Frederick the Great, Hitler's hero, hanging on the wall. Hitler shared this living space with Bondi, his German shepherd. To the left of this is his partner Eva Braun's room. Inside there's a small bed, closet and table. Hitler's room is not much different. It has a slightly larger table with 2 chairs, a small bed, some cabinets, and a picture of his mother, which he would take wherever he went. The room also contains a large safe. Rather than expensive belongings, experts believe sensitive documents were locked inside, including Nazi dealings with foreign governments and highly classified intelligence. As it was lost to history, the truth will never be known. Bormann tells Hitler that Weidling has an urgent message that they both need to attend to in the map room. Inside the small war room, the decorations are sparse. It has a cold metal table at its center and a large outdated map hanging on the wall. It shows the greatest extent of the now long-gone Nazi Empire. Weidling takes out a map and extends it on the table. Whatever happens next is beyond his control. Not too long ago, Hitler experienced one of the darkest moments of his life. His second in command, Heinrich Himmler, the chief architect of the Holocaust, had gone behind his back and tried to negotiate a peace treaty with the Allies. Hitler found out about this secret negotiation through a BBC radio report. Hitler raged at this betrayal and told those still with him in the bunker complex that Himmler's secret negotiations were the worst treachery he had ever known. Hitler ordered Himmler's arrest, and the people associated with the negotiations were to be shot on sight. Weidling is deeply concerned about the punishment he might face, even though his circumstances are very different. A small crowd begins to gather, and the various members of the remaining High Command are inspecting Weidling's map. Hitler walks into the room. "Place at ease," he says. Weidling's moment of truth arrives. He knows it can't possibly go well. The Soviets are achieving consistent major breakthroughs. We have been pushed back hundreds of meters from all major directions. They are less than a kilometer away from the bunker. There is worse news. My Führer Weidling feels the room close in on him as he delivers the important message. Berlin will run out of ammunition within the next 24 hours. We have only a small number of bullets. Airdrops are no longer reaching our defenses, and we have only a small amount of soldiers left. Hitler does not interrupt him. He stares at the map. My Führer, I suggest we try to escape this city. We have already lost 15,000 of our youngest soldiers. Hitler breaks his sentence. That's what young people are for. Weidling almost stutters. He goes for his trump card. I have already drafted an order. We can begin the escape immediately. All we need is your signature. At this moment, Goebbels speaks up. What you are suggesting is a fantasy. The Fuhrer cannot simply run away. Weidling's heart beats rapidly. Sweat forms on his forehead. Everyone in the room knows that the once almighty Fuhrer is no longer the commander he once was. Within the last weeks, he has become delusional and refuses to believe that victory is not possible. He speaks one last time. Gentlemen, we won't leave Berlin. Reach out to the generals outside the city. They will be able to deliver the decisive blow to the Soviets. He stands up and exits the room. Weidling stands in silence. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler was found dead alongside Eva Braun, whom he married in the conference room less than 40 hours earlier. Pinsinger, Hitler's valet, was the first to discover the scene. While looking for Hitler, he smelt gunpowder in the damp air outside his living quarters. However, he could not enter the room due to the door being locked. He immediately called for Bormann, and the two men kicked open the door and laid eyes upon the aftermath. Both bodies were taken to the Fuhrerbunker's emergency exit, which led to the Reich Chancellery garden above the bunker. Resources were so scarce that SS guards hastily buried Hitler's body in a shell crater and siphoned gasoline from abandoned cars nearby to burn the remains. Once the fire had died down, the leftovers were buried with mud and dirt to conceal them entirely. In the hours that followed, several high-ranking Nazi officials in the bunker also refused to surrender. This includes Joseph Goebbels, the Minister of Propaganda, who manipulated the entire country, laid to rest his 6 innocent children before himself alongside his wife Magda. General Weidling decided to surrender, hoping to save the remaining lives under his command. On May the 2nd, he ordered the last defenders of Berlin to lay down their arms. However, isolated groups of German troops without this knowledge continued to resist until the unconditional surrender on May 7th. The structure that once housed Nazi Germany's high command was blown up by Soviet and later East German forces in the post-war years. However, because of its robust design, some of it still remains today, dismantled and abandoned. The man responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews, 2 million Poles, 3 million Soviet prisoners of war alongside the destruction of Europe, was unceremoniously buried in an unmarked grave that today is a parking lot.